Well, if you have eggs in your refrigerator, you have dinner, you have breakfast, you have lunch. Eggs are just so incredibly versatile. I'm making a chickpea and rosemary frittata with basically 3 ingredients plus the eggs to make this super easy, super fast and delicious and nutritious quick meal. And this is sort of a perfect thing to have in your back pocket for this time of the year. Gets so busy around the holiday season, but we still need to eat and we still want to eat well. And this can come together really quickly for you. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm Judy Mateski. I am a registered dietitian and I'm a culinary nutritionist with Athens Nutrition. So I'm excited to be here today to give you this recipe and we're going to walk right through it. So we're going to start with basically 4 eggs. I already cracked 2 in the bowl. But I wanted to show you an easy way to crack eggs. You know, you can certainly do it on the side of the bowl, but then you always are risking that shell creeping down into the eggs. You can do it on your counter or on your cutting board, but then you get some egg on your cutting board. So the easiest way is just to take the eggs and crack them together. So if you take one, you just hit it. One of them is going to crack, the other one won't. And then just separate it, and then you just put it into the bowl. Now obviously the remaining one is just going to need to be cracked, but it won't take much to crack it now because it already kind of got started a little bit by just knocking it against that other egg. All right, so we have 4 eggs, and now this frittata makes a relatively small frittata. You're going to bake it in like an 8x8 pan or baking dish. You can double, triple this recipe. So if you have a lot of people around and you need to put a breakfast together pretty quickly, this you could just use, you know, just a longer, you know, 8x12 pan, rectangular baking dish. So you can, you know, actually feed more people, which is great. So we have the 4 eggs. Then we're just gonna add, you know, the recipe says a handful of Parmesan cheese. You know, it's probably not even a half of a cup. This is probably at least a cup, so I already have it pre-grated. So just a little bit of Parmesan cheese. Now you could use another cheese. That's the great thing about frittatas, because they really can be anything. So, you know, Allison Roman has a great video out on like the Garbage Frittata, and I kind of think of it like the clean out your refrigerator frittata. So you get it at the end of the week, you may have like half an onion, a few scallions, you know, some herbs that got a little bit limp in the refrigerator, or, you know, half a pepper. Those are great things to just chop up, throw it with some eggs, maybe a little bit of cheese, and you've got a really quick meal. This one is just a little more defined. We're just using, you know, a couple of specific ingredients, but really frittatas can be anything. And you can bake them in the oven, which is what we're going to do. Traditionally, I think they're really done on top of the stove, and then you might finish them under the broiler. I don't know, baking them in the oven to me just is a lot easier, quicker, and you're less likely to dry them out because you can really keep an eye on them. All right, so we have the eggs and the Parmesan cheese. If you don't have Parmesan, you could use feta, you could use, you know, chopped Swiss. You want a stronger flavored cheese in here just because it kind of carries the flavor. And then we're just going to do a little sprinkle of some salt and some fresh ground black pepper. All right, and that's it. And now we're just going to kind of whisk this together. So we're just basically combining the eggs with the cheese is all we're doing. All right, so just, you know, breaking up the eggs, just giving those whites a little bit of a whisk just to get some air in there a little bit. That'll help even fluff up the frittata a little bit as it's baking. All right. So we've got that going. And now I have a can of chickpeas that I have already drained, rinsed them. They're just gonna go ahead and go into the bottom of this 8x8 baking dish. Now I did spray this. I have some canola spray. I sprayed this ahead of time. You definitely wanna spray your baking dish because this will tend to stick if it's not sprayed well. So these just go right on the bottom of your baking dish. All right. And then you're just gonna take this egg mixture with the cheese and the salt and pepper, and that's just gonna get poured right over. So 4 eggs to one can of chickpeas is a really good ratio for a smaller, if you wanna make a smaller amount. This serves probably 4 people. All right, and then just, you know, kind of spread it around a little bit so the eggs are covering all of the chickpeas nicely, so they're all kind of tucked in under there. All right, let me put that in. And then what you're going to finish with is some fresh rosemary. I still have some rosemary sprigs. I have rosemary growing in our garden. It's still hanging on. So I just picked this morning. You're just going to take the rosemary and you just are going to pull down on the stem, and then the leaves will come right off. So we're going to use about 2 rosemary sprigs for this. Now, if you don't have fresh rosemary, you could use dried rosemary. This is 2 fresh figs. I'm thinking this is probably about a tablespoon or so of fresh rosemary that we're going to just chop. If you're using dried rosemary, I would only use probably about a tablespoon, because certainly dried herbs are just a little more potent and a little more pungent in their flavor than fresh. So, and now we just want to chop this up a little bit, because these leaves are a little bit, they can be a little bit tough, a little bit kind of coarse. Rosemary can be. Rosemary, thyme, oregano, those hardy herbs, they will work well with this, because you really want an herb that has a lot of flavor. That's the trick, because again, we're using so few ingredients, so we really want each ingredient to add a lot of flavor. So stronger cheese, you know, hardier, more flavorful herbs, is going to work well on this. Okay, so now I'm just going to take the rosemary that I chopped, and we're just going to go ahead and just sprinkle this pretty evenly over the top of the frittata. All right, and that's it. So again, if you don't have rosemary, you could use thyme, you could use oregano. If you want to use a more delicate herb like basil or parsley or cilantro, you could. It would work great. I would just chop that, but I wouldn't put it on until it comes out of the oven. So I would just sprinkle that on top before you're ready to serve. All right, so this is all set. I'm gonna pop it in the oven. I did do one ahead of time. This takes just about 15 minutes in the oven. So I didn't want it to, you know, have to wait for this to finish up. But this is what it looks like when it comes out, right? It just bakes right up. You don't want to over bake it. 15 minutes seems to be perfect for at least at a 400-degree oven. This as well. You don't want it to get too dry. You don't want to overcook it. So this is already set, and then what we can do is just cut this. I would cut this in 4. I think this would make, you know, really 4 servings. If you know you're really hungry, you might even want to eat half of this, but that would be ideal. And let me I'll put it out on a plate, and then I want to show you these great candied almonds. So you definitely need to spray, because this does tend to stick. All right, so I'll put two little squares on the plate so you can see. But that's it. You know, isn't that really cute? That's like so easy. And again, super easy, because it's so kind of hands off. You're just doing a few things, and then it's going to go in the oven, and then you're just going to check it in, you know, 14, 15 minutes and pull it out. All right, so we have our chickpea and rosemary frittata. Super easy with a little Parmesan cheese. Now I want to show you a really easy, quick way to make some candied walnuts, because I love having them around for the holidays. Super easy, 2 ingredients. Basically, you're just gonna take your walnuts. There's not really even a recipe for this. So I have this on, you know, fairly high, medium-high heat. So I'm gonna throw the walnuts in to the bottom of the pan. Now you can, if you want to, you could toast the walnuts as well before you add the maple syrup, which is the second ingredient we're using. But I'm gonna let them kind of come up. They're gonna have to come up to heat a little bit. And then the candy part is really just maple syrup. So once you get the heat up a little bit on this pan, which I'm gonna let this go for just a tiny bit, then we're gonna go ahead and just put the maple syrup over it, and I'll just show you, it kind of just bubbles up. Now, and it seems like it's going to be too sticky. Initially, it is sticky, but then as the walnuts dry, the maple syrup just coats those walnuts, and it just becomes kind of like candied walnuts, which are fantastic for just even to snack on. I use them a lot in salads, on top of salads throughout the holidays. I'll put them on yogurt. I'll put them on oatmeal. They're great on like a charcuterie or a cheese platter. So I just think they're fantastic. And the reason why I love almonds is that almonds are a great nut. All nuts are fantastic in my book, but one thing that's a little unique to walnuts, if you're not aware, is that walnuts just are naturally high in omega-3 fatty acids. It's the plant version. It's referred to as ALA. It's a little different than the type of omega-3 fatty acids found in fish, but every little bit we can get is wonderful. So if you like walnuts and you want to include them into your nut repertoire, definitely add them. All right, so we've got the nuts in. So now we're just going to take the maple syrup, and we're just going to like drizzle it over. You know, maybe it's a half a cup to not a half a cup, 1/4 of a cup of maple syrup to a cup of walnuts. You don't need a lot, but you just need enough just to kind of cover, not cover, but just slightly coat them. And then as this comes up to speed, the maple syrup is going to bubble away, and as it starts to bubble and sizzle a little bit, the water in the maple syrup will begin to evaporate, and then it'll just start to coat these walnuts. So I'm going to let them go for a minute. All right, and then I'll just see if we can get them going. If not, if you have a higher, you just kind of want your pan up a little bit hotter, and then walnuts go in, maple syrup goes in. It literally takes not even 5 minutes. As you can see, you'll start to see that the maple syrup starts to sizzle, and you can just see it kind of cooking away. Then just take them off the heat. What I do is I just spread them on like a cookie sheet to allow them to cool. And once they're cool, they're really not that sticky, and then you can just store them in like a glass jar. But it's one of my favorite little tricks, little hacks that I love to do around the holidays. All right, so we have our chickpea frittata. Please try it. I think you're really gonna love it. You can serve this with a nice big salad, or even just maybe some sauteed spinach or some other greens. I think that would just make a really nice light breakfast, lunch, or dinner. I'm super excited to announce that we are launching our second culinary workshop for women over 50, and we're going to launch it in January. Sign-ups, we're already taking them. If you need some motivation to get back in the kitchen, like you want to cook healthier, but it just seems like it's overwhelming, this workshop is for you, especially if you're finding that your weight is beginning to creep up. Maybe you just went to the doctors and you found out that your cholesterol, your blood sugar is starting to get a little higher. This workshop is going to help you to kind of get back into the kitchen, help you to stock a really healthy pantry, refrigerator, freezer, so that you have everything you need to put meals together quickly. And you know I am all about fast and easy, so nothing that we're going to do is going to be complicated. But we're going to just come up with plans on how to get you prepped and ready for the week as the weeks come on, so that you are ready to go and that you're not, falling back on ordering out or stopping at the store on the way home and grabbing something, but you really have a plan in place. Remember, the one thing that's so important that I think we forget, but that cooking is a very powerful health behavior. It's probably one of the best things you can do for your health is to get in the kitchen and just cook. So we're going to launch this January the 18th. It's a 4-week live virtual cooking session. The groups are small, so we really have a lot of one-on-one interaction. I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun. I'll put the details in the comments. If you're interested, just reach out. We do have an early bird special that we're going to have through the end of December if you want to sign up. Remember, just have a fantastic, healthy holiday. Stay well, and enjoy family and friends. And I will be off for the next 2 weeks, but we'll be back in January, and we'll be back strong with some new fun 5-ish ingredient recipes. All right, enjoy. Take care.